Manx Radio's update with Christian Jones.
First of May, good afternoon. It's 5 o'clock on Friday, the 3rd of October. I'm Christian Jones and this is Update. Welcome into 30 minutes of all the latest news, sport and travel, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's newsroom. On the way tonight, the boss of Manx Care has ruled out resigning following political calls for the board to step down. We'll also speak live with MHK Julie Edge. A record number of cruise passengers visited the island this season, and Isle of Man pro boxer Sam Rennie is set to return to the ring tomorrow, hoping to extend his perfect record thus far. Drop me a message if you want to say hello. Text WhatsApp to 166 177 or email to studio@manxradio.com. But first, let's get the latest with Siobhan Fletcher. Fastamai.
The CEO of Manx Care says she's not considering her position following criticism of the health body's latest annual report. It showed a number of missed key targets over the past financial year, but with 6 months to go before the end of this financial year, Teresa Cope says she's focused on the task at hand.
We all take our roles incredibly seriously. We care deeply about what we do, how we do it, and are committed to the island and its healthcare system. So, no, my job continues.
The Isle of Man Constabulary's firearms unit is training at QE2 High School this evening. It says it's just an exercise and is part of its adherence to the national training programme. Breast cancer charities are warning that an increasing number of women aren't regularly checking themselves for signs and symptoms. Chair of the Manx Breast Cancer Support Group, Julie Stokes, has this message for any women who may be worried about going to their mammogram.
You know what, we've got a most fabulous team at the Manx Breast Unit. They're all absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, they try their hardest to be as gentle with you as possible. And it's literally a couple of minutes that can save your life. It's so important.
An Isle of Man professional boxer and WBC champion, Sam Rennie, says he has big plans for the future ahead of his latest fight this weekend. The island-born boxer, now based in Australia, returns to the ring tomorrow in Thailand in a non-title bout. Further afield, police say one of two men who died in yesterday's attack on a synagogue in Manchester was accidentally shot by one of their officers. Donald Trump has given a new deadline of Sunday to Hamas to agree to his 20-point peace plan for Gaza. The Church of England's appointed its first ever female Archbishop of Canterbury, and actress Dame Patricia Rutledge has died, aged 96. They're your headlines. I'll have your news in full at 6.
Siobhan, thank you very much. Right, 3 minutes past 5. Let's head down to Ronald's Way Met Office. We can join David Britton. Fastamai, David, bit blowy out there, isn't it? What's the latest on the weather front?
Yes, just a bit. We're currently in the strongest of the winds that are expected for today, but there is expected to be some further severe gales for the morning tomorrow. So for the rest of this evening, it's going to still be a giving of gales to severe gales from the west or southwest, and that will be still giving gusts of between 50 to 55 miles per hour and up to 60 miles per hour in just a few isolated spots at first, and by the end of tonight. Rain-wise, we have seen the worst of the wide area of persistent and moderate to heavy rain move out of the way, but we are still expected to see a few further outbreaks of rain, just not quite as persistent or as heavy as we have had earlier in the day. So with regards to any rivers, it should start to calm down now. But with the conditions for tomorrow morning, as I mentioned, picking up some stronger winds again, a gale force to severe gale force from the west through the morning of tomorrow, with gusts up to 60 miles per hour again, and that will continue through the morning and then ease slightly in the afternoon to become a strong to near gale force. So only a slight ease. It is still going to be remaining rather windy for the rest of the day, and with a spell of rain also expected for the morning tomorrow, and that will then clear to isolated showers by late morning, and with better conditions as we go into Sunday, easing winds and also mainly dry.
And just quickly, I can't help but notice last year we got down to F, Storm Floris. To my point, this year they've listed Dave as one of the names, so potentially a Storm Dave. Have you ever had a named storm after you?
I think there has been a David before, but I can't remember what year that was in. But yeah, definitely starting off this storm season strong with Amy.
Absolutely. David Britton from Ronaldsway Met Office there. Thank you very much for that.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Cruise Bereavement Support Isle of Man offers free and confidential support for anyone grieving, but we can't do it alone. Donate 10 to Cruise and your £10 will help children, young people and adults. Go to cruise.org.im to make a donation.
Visit SMS Trading at 3 St Paul's Square, Ramsey. For flat pack to fully built, new or second-hand furniture. SMS Trading offer all island delivery and man in a van service. Call 315151 or find SMS Trading on Facebook.
At Begode Cattery, we have been caring for animals for over 50 years. As a cattery, we care for customers' cats and treat them as our own. Contact Begode Cattery on 676 947 or find Begode Cattery on Facebook.
Craving authentic Filipino flavours? Visit Casalo Filipino Cuisine. We cook with love and passion. Open Tuesday to Saturday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eat in or take away. 66 Box Road, Douglas, or call 333 690.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
6 minutes past 5 on Manx Radio's Update. Welcome to the programme. When Manx Care published its annual report this week, it didn't take long for criticism to be launched at the health body. After all, it highlighted a number of missed targets. As Lewis Foster reports.
Between the 1st of April 2024 and the 31st of March 2025, the percentage of patients receiving a diagnosis or ruling out of cancer within 28 days of referral fell below the target of 75%. Meanwhile, the percentage of patients waiting 6 weeks or more for a diagnostic test should, as per Manx Care's target, be less than 1%. Well, I sat down with Manx Care CEO Teresa Cope to find out why some of those key targets have been missed.
The cancer target, the faster diagnostic standard, it is incredibly important we work to achieve that. It replaced a number of the cancer targets, meaning and placing increased importance on being able to have a diagnosis by day 28 in order to plan treatment appropriately. And we have not been able to achieve that target consistently, primarily because of our inability to be able to recruit to a breast radiologist. So it is the issues that we've had, the challenges on the breast cancer pathway particularly, which has resulted in that performance falling below 75%. The good news is we have now recruited to a breast radiologist. They started in September. That's a substantive full-time appointment for Manx Care.
Manx Care overspent by £15.6 million in the last financial year. So will we see another big overspend in March 2026?
So our month 4 position is showing an overspend, and we are forecasting to overspend in this financial year. The £10 million contingency fund was set aside, and that is being allocated. And these are cost pressures that are unavoidable.
Amongst the strongest critical voices online is Onken MHK Julie Edge, who says the Manx Care board should consider resigning. So is Ms Cope considering her position?
No, I'm committed to delivering the job I do to the best of my ability and working constructively with the rest of the Manx Care board to focus on our delivery.
Teresa Cope, Chief Executive of Manx Care, speaking. Well, as we just heard, there have been calls for her resignation, and the entire Manx Care board no less. Those demands being made by Onken MHK Julie Edge, who says enough is enough. The people of the Isle of Man deserve better. She joins me now. Faster, my Julie.
Faster, my Christian.
Thanks so much for taking the time. We'll start with your reaction to what Teresa Cope says. She says she's not going to be resigning because she's focused on delivery. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm pleased that she's actually admitting what has gone on in the last few years with failure to meet certainly the cancer referral deadline. So, that's an honest admission from her. However, committing to say that she's going to stay and she's going to deliver, the Isle of Man public will be holding her to account on that now because, she's said that they've got a new breast radiologist and that should help with the overall statistics. Let's see if it does. One thing that I've noticed actually, particularly from your news item, we're only aiming for a target of 75%. We can't even meet that. I would prefer to see a near 100% for cancer people getting an early diagnosis and treatment. And, we'll see. My view is it's been a consistent failure for 4 years, and we will be expecting results now.
Just to play devil's advocate, are these failings necessarily hers, though, or are they also made at a political level by Tynwald approving things like the mandate, the operating plan, the budget, which many have not shied away from saying is insufficient, so overspending is inevitable?
Yeah, and it is a board, and it's not particularly, the CEO heads up the operational side, but sits on the board, and there is other members on the board. So it is a board that have been operating Manx Care. However, the Sir Jonathan Michael formula and the inflation rates, I believe, have virtually been met, if not exceeded. And one other area is, and the CEO did just mention this, 10 million contingency fund. They've already decided they're spending that already, but in the interview, it was also stated that they're expecting an overspend. So this is completely, I do feel that will need challenging, because the Manx public do deserve a good service. We've seen the NHS levy now dropped, but I did call for the audit from the Auditor General. I want to see the outcome of that. It won't be a full audit. I had discussions with them, and it was about the management structures and the costs, etc. So I hope that is delivered, because the Manx public want to know what's really going on with our money in Manx Care for it consistently to go overspent. And I know there's pressures and demands, but that's always been there. It's not new because of Manx Care. We had that prior to Manx Care, but we didn't have overspends. I don't think any more than £10 million when it was run and operated under the DHSC.
Final thoughts just quickly. The Speaker, Joan Watterson, says Tynwald will be unlikely to approve any additional funding to bail out the health service if it overspends. Do you have an opinion?
I do, because the more you keep bailing out, the less accountability and transparency the Manx public are getting.
Onken MHK, Julie Edge, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. 12 minutes past 5 now.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Now, the Isle of Man's information watchdog has ordered the Cabinet Office to review its block on releasing details of £2 million in staff exit payments. Simon Richardson has been looking into the decision. He's with us now. First to my Simon, what's the background here?
First to my Christian, well, this all comes from a Freedom of Information request after reports that almost £2 million was paid to 27 government employees who left the civil service in the 2022-23 financial year. The applicant wanted a list of those payments and how much each person received and the reasons behind them. Now, the Cabinet Office blocked the request, saying it would breach personal data protections, and stuck with that view when asked to carry out an internal review.
Right, so why has the Information Commissioner now stepped in?
Well, the applicant escalated it to the Information Commissioner, who has ruled that the Cabinet Office didn't properly consider the request. The refusal focused on the settlement agreements themselves rather than the list that was asked for. Now, the decision also points out that many of those agreements actually allow for anonymised disclosure in response to FOI requests. And so the watchdog says the Cabinet Office should have considered providing the information in list form, which doesn't amount to creating new records, but is a legitimate way of complying with the law.
OK, so what does the Cabinet Office have to do now then?
Well, it's been told to either release the information in the format requested or issue a new refusal with a much clearer explanation of why it believes the data can't be shared, and it's got until the end of October to comply.
Simon, thank you for that. And of course, we will keep an eye out if that information does get released. 14 minutes past 5. We'll turn our attention to travel in just a moment, but first, the leader of Douglas City Council has welcomed government plans to reform rates exemptions on dilapidated and ruinous properties. Treasury is intending to bring forward new legislation that would require landlords of such properties to pay rates in full as an incentive to bring them back onto the market. Devon Watson says the change would bring in a small rise in revenue, perhaps a percentage point or two, but argues the real issue is fairness. He believes it's wrong for ordinary ratepayers to effectively subsidise landlords who fail to maintain their properties.
I'm a big fan of the idea of you change behaviour by changing incentives. And by putting rates on dilapidated properties, you can't just land bank a property now. You can't just buy property if you're a UK buyer and just leave it for a very long period of time. You now have an incentive to actually do something with it because this asset is not costing you money. But I don't think that it goes far enough, because this is step one of many. And the next step ideally would be seeing a vacancy rate or additional vacancy charge on empty properties, and then also maybe having a multiplier for empty properties owned by people who don't live on the Isle of Man. I think it's fundamentally wrong that if you're a family and you're looking to purchase a home, that you get outbidded or outcompeted by foreign investors who don't necessarily live here. And it's probably one of the reasons why we can see that the big sort of housing construction that we have seen hasn't actually lessened prices at all, because if they're all sold to UK buyers under the idea that, wow, the Isle of Man doesn't have any stamp duty, then we're fundamentally not building houses for people, we're building houses for the sake of investment.
Do you think there could be any potential for loopholes, though? I put this question to David Ashford, that if people were to choose to demolish their houses instead of bring them back onto the market, obviously a demolished house means no rates anyway.
There's two approaches you could go on. You could sort of put a rates or charge on dilapidated or vacant brownfield sites, and these litter Douglas. It's one of the reasons why Douglas doesn't look as attractive as many of the other towns that we have on the Isle of Man, is because you've got a lot of vacant brownfield sites. So there should be a charge for that if you're leaving productive land unused. And then secondly, what you could do is you could go the more Georgian sort of land value tax route. And what that also does, that solves several problems, is that it also encourages a certain amount of urban density and productive use of land within urban cores. It ends up charging agricultural land lower rates, but that is a much larger sort of set of reforms.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, let's take a look on the roads to begin with. Obviously, we do have the Chris Kelly rally due to be taking place tomorrow, so parts of Little London, Ballaugh Glen Road and the Brandywell Road will be closed from 8 in the morning, and they're expected to be reopening no later than at 6. Elsewhere, the Mountain Road is closed from Brandywell to the Craignabar for drainage work, that stretch remaining closed until the 20th of October. Businesses on the Isle of Man on the mountain, will be open as normal. We're also hearing of a road traffic collision on Christian Road, and police are saying to find an alternative route. We do have rolling updates of all the disruption over on our Facebook page, so head on over there if you want to see anything in a bit more detail. Looking down at the steam packet, not so good. All sailings are cancelled for the rest of the day due to those strong winds. The overnight Manxmen at risk. We're hoping to hear from them what's happening with that imminently. Over at the airport, quite a few things. Get your notepad at the ready. On the arrivals for the 5 and 5:50 flights from Manchester are cancelled. Likewise, the 6:15 London Gatwick 2. On the departures for the 5:20 and 5:30 Manchester and the 6:50 London Gatwick are also cancelled. Naturally, the weather is causing significant disruption, so if you're heading off the island or picking up, then check things are running ahead of setting off.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with Quayside.
The Journey to a Dream podcast is brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance and is predominantly all about bike racing. And if you thought bike racing was all about speed, you'd be wrong.
I think we drank more cups of tea than we did litres of fuel. I think we did 265 cups of tea, I think it was in the end.
Do you rate your tea making skills?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Okay. Yorkshire, proper, good brew, no sugar, just a dash of milk on there from Isle of Man Creameries, of course. That is a proper cup of tea.
You can find the Journey to a Dream series on the Manx Radio website or wherever you download your podcasts.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
19 minutes past 5. You may have noticed there's been a lot of cruise liners in Douglas Bay this year, 47 in total. Well, a record number of passengers visited the island during the 2025 season. 26,357 sampling the Manx experience. It's estimated the season generated around £2.3 million in economic contributions through port and passenger spend across the island's tourism, hospitality and retail sectors. Deborah Heather is the chief exec of Visit Isle of Man and says her team is delighted.
It's a great chance to show people what we've got as an island and entice them back, but also they spend extensively in the local community, so it's really great for the local economy.
How much do they actually spend? There's some controversy, isn't there, among people that maybe these people just come ashore, wander around, buy a cup of tea maybe, and then get back on the boat. But the evidence suggests otherwise.
Exactly. So because you can't actually physically count how much people are spending, we use the statistics that are delivered from Cruise Britain. So we basically use whatever their average spend is. And actually we are on the side of caution. They normally, I think this year it was £80 for a UK feeder market boat and then over £100 for the American boats. But we do everybody at the same level at £80. They really are buying extensively. We'll often talk to the shopkeepers wherever the boat comes in. There's people saying they have better days than they do at Christmas when we've got one of the big boats in.
Now, 47 ships this year. Looking ahead, can that be increased?
So we're looking to see what our options are. It's like everything, the market's changing. Expedition ships are really popular now. So those are smaller ships where you can get 500, 1,000 people on them or less. And often we're looking to see where we can get them into some of our smaller ports, our smaller towns, so that, you know, we could have boats coming into Peel or to Ramsey or Port St Mary, as well as the bigger ships that can get into Douglas. So really what we are looking to do is, yes, develop the market, try and get more ships here, and it will have that momentum on the longer staying visits that we get from the rest of the year.
Deborah Heather, the chief executive of Visit Isle of Man. Now there's a chance to take part in what I can guarantee is one of the most unique fundraising events there is. It's being organised by Riding for the Disabled and will essentially see people dressing up in horse costumes and trotting around. It's quite an interesting mental picture. Not only will entrants get to keep their outfits, but they'll also get to compete in a relay race, barrel racing, and even a steeplechase similar to the Grand National. Kat Irons came up to Manx Radio and told us more, but first she had to describe what she was wearing.
I today have come as our mascot Murphy. So we have a mascot Murphy who is an inflatable horse, and we get to be a jockey with our feet safely on the floor. So in October the 12th, we are going to be holding a charity fun run, and everybody gets to wear one of these outfits and be Murphy for the day, and they even get to take them home. And that means that everybody gets to ride in the main Murphy mascot trot. You don't have to trot though if you want to walk. The whole point is that it's an inclusive event for all of our riders, anybody on the island, to be able to get involved, and everybody will complete the mascot trot.
How did the idea for this kind of activity come about?
Some of our horsing around team joined in the Manx Mencap Dino race. And we were like, why have we never had a race with Murphy? The one thing that Murphy would always want to do is have a race. So we decided to try and organise a race, which meant that all of our riders and kids and family and grandmas and everybody could get involved and make sure it was something that was really inclusive. Because as a charity that concentrates on people with additional needs, it's really important for us to be able to involve everyone.
And that's Kat Irons there speaking about the horse trotting event. More details about that can be found over at manxradio.com. Now, let's turn our attention to sport. Isle of Man pro boxer and WBC champion Sam Rennie returns to the ring tomorrow in Thailand with the island-born fighter hoping to extend his perfect records in the professional ranks. While his focus right now is on his opponent, Pye Tain U, Rennie told Manx Radio he's eyeing big opportunities across the world.
Yeah, so my first international fight, well, technically they've all been international fights because I'm not from Australia, but Australia being my new adopted home, this was my first international fight. Don't know too much about the opponent, to be honest. It was all up in the air for a bit, and then it all happened so suddenly, so I don't really know too much what's going on. I just took the fight. I've been to Thailand before, so go over there, make a bit of a holiday out of it, and then obviously hopefully come away with the win as well. I knew I wanted to stay active. Obviously being so young, I'm the youngest pro boxer from the Isle of Man, so I'm trying to keep the flag riding high and just be as busy as I can. Got a long career ahead of me, and this type of experience is so valuable. It's good to get away, get out of your comfort zone, and then obviously I'm back out in November in Perth again in my adopted home. So yeah, very busy end to the year. I've got new faces to impress, a new audience to hopefully gain.
Just to go off a phrase that you mentioned there, new faces to impress. Is that part of the boxing journey as well? Obviously, you're out there to win fights. That's what you've been doing. But it's also part of that making sure that you're showcasing your name almost to not just Australia, but to other parts of the world.
Yeah, well, exactly that. Yeah, there's no ceiling, the sky's the limit. New faces, that means new skills to learn. And it's one of them, there's so much you can learn in the sport, and all these different, right now, for example, it's a lot of Russian coaches with me. So they're teaching a new sort of culture off boxing. And yeah, like you say, hopefully your name starts getting around. And if it makes it to Thailand and Asia, and then it makes it to Russia, and then it can make it across the pond to America, because I'm eyeing up some big fights for the next 2 years. I want to get over the pond to America. I want to get to Japan next year as well.
You're out there to try and win this weekend. That's a given. But looking forward, if you're successful this weekend, where would you like to see yourself in the next 12 months?
More titles and more money.
Sam Rennie speaking there. Let's keep our attention with sports. We can say faster my to sports editor Rob Pritchard.
Faster my. So, weather permitting, this is what we have in store right now for this weekend. The current Canada Life Men's Premier League leaders face another of the division's high flyers as part of this weekend's Isle of Man football fixtures. Top flight table toppers Corinthians host third-placed Onchan during Saturday's ties, with all of the top four in the Premier League separated by just 1 point. Well, you can view the full schedule of Isle of Man football fixtures this weekend on our website. Elsewhere, after a break last weekend, Manx rugby fixtures are due to return in earnest tomorrow. Douglas will head to Burnage in Regional 2 North West. Vagabonds ladies are at home to Didsbury Toc H, and in the Manx Shield, Western Vikings face Southern Nomads. One match has already been postponed. Ramsey's trip to Clitheroe in Counties 3 ADM Lancashire Cheshire is off due to travel disruption affecting Ramsey. And we're also due to have a full schedule of fixtures this weekend in game week 4 of the Isle of Man mixed hockey season. All 4 senior divisions are too close to call at this early stage, including the mixed Premier League, in which just 2 points separate the current top 3. Matches are due to get underway from 11 a.m. tomorrow morning and run throughout the afternoon.
So, Rob, many people will have their eyes on the weather conditions this weekend, and whether events will be going ahead. We've already had some other cancellations, haven't we?
Yes, so it's already been confirmed the ARA 4-hour endurance event at Derby tomorrow has been cancelled, whilst the Peveril MCC Dandeen Youth Trial has been postponed tomorrow. One match is already off tomorrow in Manx football, Onchan versus Corinthians in Canada Life Combination 1. And also Isle of Man Badminton Association says tonight's junior squad session at the Roundhouse in Braddon won't be taking place due to the poor conditions.
And when can we expect a decision on tomorrow's sports fixtures?
So decisions on Saturday's Isle of Man football fixtures are expected to be made during tomorrow morning or by lunchtime. Inspection of hockey pitches will take place tomorrow morning, with the first decisions due at around 9 a.m. And for rugby matches and tomorrow's FC Isle of Man fixture at the Bowl, much will depend on if there is any travel disruption for visiting and travelling teams. We'll bring you updates as soon as we get them.
Very, very good. Go remind. Thank you very much, Rob. Well, that's it for Update this evening. Thanks very much to newsreader Siobhan Fletcher. On the way, Rob is back with Friday Sport. Have a good weekend. Don't get blown away. I'll be back with you on Monday. So until then, take care. Bye-bye for now.